Norway scored. The whole stadium came up off its feet, grown men with painted faces screaming into the Miami night. And then the referee took the goal away. Not for offside, not for handball, for something that happened before the ball was even kicked. One push, off the ball, a little shove from Erling Haaland on an England player seconds earlier at a corner nobody was really watching. Here's the strange part. That push did not cost Norway the game. England won later, on their own, deep into extra time on a completely different play. Rewind and delete the push, and there's no guarantee Norway lift the trophy. None. And yet your brain will swear it was the moment. The one thing, the reason all of it happened. So today we're not really going to talk about a referee. We're going to talk about why your brain does that, why it reaches into a 2-hour match, grabs a single moment, and calls it the cause. Because once you see how that trick works, you'll start catching your own brain doing it. At your job, with your money, in the argument you're still replaying from last week. Your brain blamed the wrong moment. Let me show you the one it should have been watching. You've done this exact thing. A relationship ends, and within a day your brain has found the one text you shouldn't have sent. A project falls apart, and you can point to the single meeting where it all went wrong. A season slips away, and there's always one moment, the miss, the mistake. It feels like the cause, it feels obvious, and it's almost always wrong. Not because you're careless, because of how the machine is built. Your brain takes a long, tangled chain of events and crushes it down into one cause and one villain. That's ancient wiring. For most of human history, it was enough to know who threw the spear. One person, one action, one story. Fast, cheap, good enough to survive the afternoon. We even have a small name for one piece of this: judging a decision by how it happened to turn out. A stock goes up, you were a genius. It goes down, you were a fool. Same decision, different ending, opposite verdict. But that's just the surface. The deeper bug isn't about single decisions at all. It's about sequences, and a football match is a sequence. Here's the idea that changes everything, so stay with me for 20 seconds. Imagine you're writing a sentence one word at a time. You can't see the ending yet. You just pick the next word, then the next, each one leaning on everything you've already written. Now imagine someone reaches in and quietly changes your second word. Not the last one, the second one. By the time you get to the end, the whole paragraph is different. A different point, a different meaning. One early change and everything downstream bends around it. That's not just how you write, that's how an artificial intelligence writes. A language model builds text one tiny piece at a time. Each piece is called a token, which is really just a chunk of a word. And every new token gets chosen based on all the tokens that came before it. Change one early token, and the rest of the sentence can wander off somewhere completely different. A football match runs on the exact same rule. Every event happens inside the context of everything before it. The score, the clock, who's ahead, who's desperate, who's just trying to hold on. It isn't a bag of separate highlights you can shake up and rank by how dramatic they were. It's a sequence. One long, live generation, each moment written on top of the last. So that push at the corner wasn't a moment. It was an early word, and someone changed it. Let me show you exactly what changed. Picture the match frozen at that corner. From this one point, the game splits into two completely different futures. In the first future, there's no foul. The goal stands. Norway lead 2-1. Watch what that does. Norway are ahead now, so they drop deeper and protect the lead. England have to throw bodies forward and chase. That opens gaps, forces different substitutions, changes everything. A whole branch of possible games, all flowing out of 3 words. The goal counts. In the second future, the referee sees the push. The goal is wiped off. The corner gets retaken and cleared. The score stays 1-1. Now the game is open, both teams still pushing, and it drifts toward extra time. And in that branch, England eventually score the winner. Two futures, one tiny fork between them. Mathematicians and economists have a name for this: path dependence. Where you end up doesn't just depend on how good the players are, it depends on the road you took to get there. Change one early turn, and every probability after it shifts. And here's the honest part, the bit almost nobody says out loud. We can't measure how much that push was worth. Nobody can tell you it was 10% of a trophy or 50. All we can say is that it knocked the match from one branch of the tree onto another. Path dependence was never about a guaranteed ending. It's about which tree you're standing in. The push didn't decide the result. It decided which set of possible results you were even choosing from. Now here's why your brain files this whole thing wrong. The thing that erased the goal happened before the ball was even in play. A shove off the ball a few seconds before the corner was taken. A cause that came before the goal, it undid. Everyone in that stadium was staring at the net. The real hinge was somewhere else entirely. Earlier. Quiet. Out at the edge of the frame. Your brain hates that. It looks for causes sitting right next to their effects, in the same moment, in the same picture. A goal is caused by the shot by the pass, all tidy and close together. But path-dependent causes don't sit next to their effects. They hide upstream, early, small, easy to miss. Which is exactly why, by the time they finally matter, they feel like they came out of nowhere. The second that goal came off the board, millions of brains ran the same little program at the same time. What if he hadn't pushed? What if? What if? That's a real machine in your head, and it has a name. Counterfactual thinking. Your mind automatically building an alternate reality, a version of events that never actually happened. And it has a cruel setting. The closer the alternative feels, the more it haunts you. Psychologists have shown this for decades. Missing your flight by 5 minutes stings far worse than missing it by an hour, even though you're just as stuck either way. A goal that was actually on the scoreboard, celebrated, real for a few seconds, then deleted, feels unbearably close. That nearness is exactly why it feels like the moment. But that alternate timeline is a lie, because your brain only builds one clean version. He doesn't push, Norway win, simple. And it quietly hides all the other branches. The one where England equalize anyway. The one where the keeper still spills that shot in extra time. The one where 100 small things break the other way. The real match had 1,000 branches, and it kept branching right up to the final whistle. Then there's a second reflex stacked on top. We say Haaland was reckless, selfish. We blame the man. But watch any corner in any match, and you'll see 10 players pushing, holding, grabbing shirts. The behavior is the environment, not the personality. Blaming his character and ignoring the situation everyone was standing in has a name too. The fundamental attribution error. We overrate the person and underrate the moment they were caught in. And there's one more hidden thing, the quietest of them all. Players have thrown that exact shove at corners for 100 years and gotten away with it. Haaland didn't do something new, he did something old. What changed wasn't the push. It was the odds of being seen. Video review, plus a new rule, dragged the chance of getting caught up towards certain. There's a whole theory about this. What actually stops people from breaking a rule usually isn't how harsh the punishment is. It's how likely they think they are to get caught. Raise that probability, and the same old action suddenly carries a real cost. You live inside this. The speed camera on the road you used to fly down. The monitoring software at work. The tool that now reads every line of code you write before anyone else does. The act didn't change. The math of getting caught did. A new fork, quietly added to everybody's tree. Here's where this stops being about football. That counterfactual machine never switches off. The X, the job you turned down, the one what if you've been paying rent on for years. Your brain keeps handing you a single, clean, alternate life, or you chose differently and everything worked out. It never shows you the branches where that other life went just as badly. You're grieving one imaginary timeline out of thousands. But path dependence hides a gift inside it too. If the earliest forks reshape the whole tree, then your earliest, quietest choices carry the most weight. Not the loud, dramatic, last-minute ones. The small, early ones. The first person you hired. The first line you wrote. The habit you set in your 20s that quietly bent every year that came after. We obsess over the big, obvious moments. The push, the miss, the final whistle. And we walk straight past the tiny, early decisions that actually drew the map. So which moment decided Norway against England? None of them. Not on its own. It was a sequence, branching all the way to the last kick. The push didn't cost Norway the World Cup. It moved them onto a different branch of the tree. And then your brain did what it always does. It deleted the branch and kept a villain. The biggest mistake in a match is rarely the loudest one. It's the earliest quiet decision that changes every possibility coming after it. You never watched the game that had to happen. You watched one branch of a tree and then told yourself it was the only one that could have ever grown. So next time your brain hands you the one moment, the single reason it all went wrong, do one thing. Ask it for the sequence.